but they're really the ones that that shape the development of the technology, shape the way the web evolves, and ensure that their technical needs are met and the needs of their customers will be met. We've had a pretty consistent growth over the years. The membership in W3C is scaled according to the size of the organization. So we recognize that paying a membership fee can be a barrier, and we want to make those, we want to make participation as practical as possible for organizations. So the different categories, full, affiliate, developing country, and startup, really just represent different fee levels that we charge in our membership structure. But every organization has the same right of participation, has the same technical voice in a working group, and has full and equal is given full and equal consideration to their input. We also last year opened a set of fora for members of the community at large to create discussion groups to talk about any topic of interest to them for the web. And whereas we have about 47 or so technical working groups, we have an enormous growth in what we call community groups, who are just discussion of interest for things that may become web standards in the future. So they can begin to create some pre-standardization discussion. And we have over 3,000 individuals participating in those open community discussion fora. So let me talk a little bit about how standards development actually works at W3C. Over the weekend count, we have 47 technical committees, we call them working groups, who are each working on one or more standard for the World Wide Web. Across those 47 groups, we have 1,600 representatives from our member company or individual experts who have some particular expertise that's important to the working group. The working group can invite them in to participate. Across those 47 working groups, the medium size of a group is 28 participants. That's a pretty good number. It represents a need, an opportunity to continue to build this broad consensus across both the technical vendor community and the user community on the needs of that they'll have for web standards. Our standards development process is extremely, entirely based on developing consensus. Consensus doesn't mean that we have unanimous agreement on everything. There can be cases where two very well-meaning engineers simply have a fundamental disagreement about the way something should proceed, but the working group can talk through those differences, and when the working group decides what it's believed to be the best course of action, then the working group proceeds. And at the end of the day, if there was a disagreement or objection to the end result, those are considered by Tim as the director of the consortium when something goes to the final standard approval stage. So that's consensus-based. Openness. Openness requires us to provide a transparent mechanism, a transparent conversation around developing the web standards. So all of our standards are developed with public review and comment periods. We make working drafts of standards available for comment periodically throughout the design process. Both the working drafts and the end result of the process, the standard that comes out the other end, are made available on the web without charge. And again, implementers can implement those standards without paying royalties. The standards themselves, by making them open, by making them consensus-based, by making them implementable without royalties, allows other innovators to recombine them in new ways and do more innovation. That's, after all, what allowed the web to come into being in the first place. That the basic building blocks that were there on the internet, Tim and others could recombine and create the web. W3C is a membership organization. Membership is completely voluntary. Our authority comes by the cooperation and collaboration of our members and other developers who use web technologies. And it's really the market that determines the success of any particular web standard. When we see a new innovation happening out there and we see that it has stabilized enough, become well enough understood that it merits becoming a standard, then that will be brought to us, to our attention, and we'll propose a working group for that. But again, participation in that working group is voluntary, and our members tell us what their priorities are by deciding which groups they'll send representatives to. So let me talk about the open web platform and where we see things headed next. So the web, when it started out, was principally a distribution mechanism for static documents, research reports, papers, other textual and text with graphic material embedded in it, but the web wasn't particularly interactive. You clicked on a link to follow a reference to a new document, but that was it. Then we started to have web forms where you could enter data, and we started to see the web being used as a platform for developing applications. And now with HTML5 and the open web platform, really have made the web a full-fledged environment for creating rich, highly interactive applications. And as one of Tom's slides re-emphasized, making that platform work on a broad range of devices. Any device that could possibly have internet connectivity and has a screen to display information, or has an audio output device to read you information, we want the web to be able to work on those devices. So cross-platform applications, desktop, the traditional desktop computers, mobile phones, tablets, the television industry, television manufacturers are very interested in combining the web with broadcast television. So that's a new, not a new market, but a new area of application for the web that we're interested in. And really, the cornerstone for that is HTML5 and the family of technologies around HTML5 for styling web pages, for interactivity on web pages, and for doing graphics that scale across a wide variety of screen sizes. So with the open web platform, we really continue the mission to make sure that the same web is accessible from everywhere, from every device. That there's not you don't have to create a different website for a device with a tiny screen than you created for the desktop computer or the tablet computer. We want the web to support rich interactions with applications. The provisioning of applications in the same desktop web browser means that you can get to those same applications from your portable mobile device. the sensors in those portable devices then bring new opportunities for new kinds of applications. So location-aware applications that Tom described that help you search for information that is relevant to you at this time, at this location. That brings us a whole new suite of capabilities. And in those technologies, those techniques have been adopted by the social media community to provide richer ways for people to interact and describe their needs, or in other cases to provide time-sensitive broadcast information to people. So lots of applications of these kinds of technologies for richer kinds of communication. So our goal is to make sure that the same web continues to work effectively on the broadest possible range of devices for even more applications. So last year, Gartner in its tech trends identified that mobile devices, mobile applications in HTML5 and personal data storage in the cloud as the top 3 technologies for strategic business focus. And that really continues. The development of mobile applications and location-aware applications and access to information has really been the continued trend for the World Wide Web. So as the web has transformed all of these applications to this point, it will continue to do so. And I'll give you some very brief examples of areas that we're seeing interest in. So the digital publishing community has asked us to help them understand how to make web workflows that work well with their traditional book publishing workflows. So this is different from simply providing books on e-readers. This is really making the whole process of producing published material work on the web. And we have a series of workshops and other technical activities to help understand the needs of that market for business processes on the web. We also have the opportunity, and they recognize the opportunity to provide richer content in the published materials that they have. So we need additional mechanisms in the web to support a wider diversity of business needs and distribution models. We also need, and this is somewhat controversial to some of us who've been with the web for a long time. We also need ways to enable payment for content on the web. There's lots of content that is valuable to us as users that the owners are uncomfortable or unwilling to put that content on the web because up until this point the impression is that everything that's on the web must be available for free. We recognize that the web needs to be able to support business models where there are micropayments for access to individual articles or access to other materials. It's really not just for the digital publishing industry, but for other content providers as well. Recognition of the need for web payment work. The entertainment market continues to think of new ways to use the web. Television industry is now producing television sets that have internet connections on them. And this enables all kinds of experimentation with interactive television or access to content on the web that's related to whatever the material being broadcast on the television is. And an early attempt at this a few years ago, the television manufacturers were making their own version of HTML. They were making something they were calling broadcast HTML. This would have led to the awkward situation that we don't want, which is there are different webs. The TV manufacturing industry realized that they shouldn't be proceeding down that path. They should be coming, and if there are special needs for HTML in broadcast content distribution, they should make sure that HTML5 includes responses to their special needs. So the entertainment industry, we have a lot of work in the web and TV community to integrate those together. Another example, the automotive industry is recognizing that mobile device should be web-enabled as well, whether for navigation purposes or for entertainment purposes or access to emergency services or simply other information distribution needs. The automotive industry believes that, and of course we support them, that your car should be connected to the web in some way, and understanding what new requirements that may bring to the core technology is another new area of work for us. So, all of the automotive manufacturers and consortia that represent automotive manufacturers are participating in the launch of technical committees for the web on automobiles. As the web has been a platform for innovation, we'll be celebrating, can you believe it? We'll be celebrating the 25th anniversary of the invention of the web next year. Some of us were around at that time, but Suffolk University has a new class of students who don't know when there wasn't a web. It's really incredible. But the principles that Tim outlined for how the web should work, how the web should scale from a few number of scientific researchers who wanted to publish their research papers to everybody in the world who wants to blog about their opinions on world affairs or their opinions on community affairs or archive their family history on the web. The fact that the web can scale to all of these applications is really a testament to a few very small design principles that Tim had in mind from the very beginning. We fully expect that the web will continue to grow and evolve and of course need new standards to support new devices, to support new ways of, I'll say, talking with our web browsers, but some of us talk with our hands, not with our mouth. We'll have other kinds of input mechanisms and other kinds of output mechanisms. W3C will be here to help make the consensus work around those. So we primarily focus on the technologies, but we have also recently started 3 other initiatives that I want to mention to you. We recognize that there's a need for, our developers have come to us asking for more training materials for how to use our web standards, how to apply our web standards, and some of you are involved in teaching web developers how best to apply these technologies. But we've created a site to help you with materials to build your training curricula out of, and we call it webplatform.org. So if you're looking for technical materials, instructional kinds of materials, you can go to webplatform.org to find them. We've also been developing some training courses. This is an initiative from my colleagues over in Europe. We have some online training materials that we're calling W3 Dev Campus, W3 Developers Campus. So these are online training materials. And then a particular initiative that I feel strongly about. What makes the web work best is when people adhere to the standards. People provide content, web content that does conform to the best and proper way to use HTML5. And at the same time, the browsers understand that not everybody's web pages are going to be perfect web pages. So the browsers have logic in them to accommodate pages that didn't precisely conform to HTML5. But when a website is relying on the ability of a browser to be a little forgiving about the HTML content, the website loses interoperability. The website risks that it won't be usable, at least not fully usable, on every web device out there. The W3C Validator Suite service is a service for web developers, for people who contract with web developers, to tell them whether their website is conforming properly to the web standards. And to point out places that may need attention. Not just in the HTML markup itself, but also in other important areas like internationalization. Does your website properly support text in non-English languages, not non-European languages? Does your website support good access for people with disabilities? Those are the kinds of tests that we anticipate having in the Validator Suite in the future. It's not there in the present beta version. But helping developers and website owners make sure that their websites are as interoperable as the standards will allow them to be. So I hope I've given you some insight into both how the open consensus-based standards process works, some of the successes that we've had in making it so, and some of the new areas that that our members have brought to us with their interest in the future. Thank you.
I think we have some time for questions. I'm actually we're going to have you just sit down, Ralph, rather than me get up to the podium and make it more of a little bit of chat rather than sort of that thing. So if you've got questions in the audience, I'll be allowing you to